I'd like to give you a quick tour of ArcGIS Online, which is essentially an online web-based geographic information system. It can do a lot of really interesting things, and I just want to kind of give you a sense of what's in there and what it can do. You'll notice at the top that there's a list of links here: features, plans, gallery, maps, scene, groups, and content. Then over here is the account that you're logged in with. So this is my public account. And then they'll show you sort of a gallery of some of the more interesting or recent maps that have been made by people. You can have a look through those if you want. There's information at the bottom here about how to make a map, ArcGIS for developers, lessons that you can go through if you want to learn more about it. So I would highly recommend those. Some of them are really amazingly well done. So just to begin with, we're going to focus on clicking on this link here, which is for map. So this is essentially the default view for the mapping part of ArcGIS Online. So let's have a look at what's in here. So at the top we have a drop down for ArcGIS. So that's a way for you to go back to those previous links for things like gallery and so on. There's some links here for details, adding data in a base map. I'll get more to that in a minute. There's another sort of set of menu links over here for saving a web map, sharing it, printing it, measuring things, bookmarks. You can add things over here in a search thing. This is to indicate the account that you're using while you're making this. And so essentially you have this pane on the left that can be used for various things. That's also referred to as like a table of contents. You'll see your list of layers in there. You can get information about those layers. You can change the symbology. So that's where a lot of the activity will take place when you're trying to do something with the map. And of course, this is the mapped area here, where you'll actually see whatever it is that you're mapping. And it has some familiar controls that you'd see in some other web mapping applications for zooming in and out. And you can set a home location so it will go back to that particular part of the world if you wanted to. Here under the About tab, you see something that says Make Your Own Map. So you can choose an area, decide what to show, add more to your map, save and share your map. Esri's done a really nice job of making it easy to get started with this, even if you've never touched ArcGIS Online before. So certainly look at some of those things. They have little tutorials that are available and lessons that will help you. And they're a nice way to kind of get started if you want to try them out. If you click on the Content tab, you'll see here that we just have something called Topographic. So essentially that's just the base map. That's the background that you're seeing right now. That can be changed. And then the legend at this point really has nothing in it because we haven't added any layers to our map. So if we want, we can add data to our map. We can search for layers. And there's some that come up automatically. We can search for ones. We can say something like volcano, maybe Alaska, see what comes up. So there's different layers that become available. So here's one from the National Park Service for park unit boundaries. We could add that in there. Let's just see what that shows us. So we have information about that. We can add it to our map. And so that's actually given us park boundaries, it looks like, for the entire United States. So that's now been added. We can zoom in and out. We can look at them, say, for parts of Alaska. And now if we go over to our details for our legend, we have an entry that's been added, which is that map layer. So we now have a vector map layer that's been added on top of our base map. If we want, we can change the base map. There's different ones that are available depending on what it is you're trying to do. So for example, you have a light gray canvas if you want to make it so that there's not much else in the background. If I zoom back out here and go to a different part of the US, you can see that a map like this or base map is really meant to sort of just fade into the background and emphasize whatever the map layers are that you've put on top, like these ones. But we could just as easily change it to something like imagery. And so if we go back to Alaska, for example, you can see some of the amazing topography and geography in Alaska and where those parks are in relation to satellite imagery. So you can play around with that, try different base maps. It's easy to switch them out. You can try National Geographic, for example, and see how that looks. I think I will go back to Topographic. So it's easy to see our parks on top of the background. And so now I can save that map with a title. So I can say, if I'm mainly interested in the Alaska parks, I can call it that. I can give it whatever tags that I want. I could say Parks, Alaska. You don't have to add a summary if you don't want to. You'll have a folder available for that. I'm just calling mine DB Demo. And if you save that map, you can then go away and come back later and open up that map, and it will have the same base map, the same map layers, the same location all saved, and it will open it up to that those settings that you've already given it, which is obviously really convenient. You can also share your web map. So it provides a URL that you can then share with other people, so you can send that link to somebody and say, hey, look at the map I made, and they'll be able to open it up without having to have any kind of special account or anything like that, and they'll see the base map and the map layers exactly the way that you configured it, and so it's a great way to be able to share it with friends, colleagues, your boss. You're showing people how to get to a cottage or whatever it happens to be. It's a very convenient way to be able to share the work that you're doing. If I want to take measurements, I can just click on the measure tool, and for example, if I wanted to measure a distance, I can just click on the ruler tool there, and I can start tracing out the distance that I'd like to know the distance of for a particular location. And you'll see that it's giving me a readout in kilometers in this case. So if I double click that, you'll see that it ends that. And so that particular distance is 660.7 kilometers. I can change the units to feet, yards, nautical miles, and so on. So you can pick the units that work best for you. I can click on locations if I want to know the latitude and longitude of a location. Anywhere that I click, it will give me that in degrees, or I can switch it to decimal degrees, or degrees, minutes, and seconds, or DMS. So it works in either format. It's just giving you different options in terms of how you read that. So that's very handy, and if you want to know the coordinates, the geographic coordinates for any particular location. You can add a bookmark. So if I say I want to be able to come back to this exact location, I'll say it's Alaska, and close that up. And so then if I'm zooming around, I'm looking at different parts of the world or whatever it happens to be, if I go to that bookmark and just select it, it will go back to the exact location and scale that I had saved it at, which is really useful if you have multiple locations that you're working with, multiple scales, and you want to be able to easily pan and zoom between those different locations. If I want to find a particular location, I can type it into the search bar here. So for example, if I want to find the Eiffel Tower, I can just type that in, click on that, and it will locate it for me with a little pop-up here. It says Eiffel Tower, and it gives the address, and that's the location of the Eiffel Tower right there. So very useful to be able to search for locations, and then you may want to do that when you're first starting your map, you're not sure where it is or whatever. If you want, you can change the symbology for a map layer. So here I've just clicked on the Content tab, and for my park unit boundaries, you'll see there's different options available for here. So for example, I can show the table associated with that if there's any attributes. So that's attribute information I can look at in terms of how that relates to the geography, or sometimes we refer to as the geometry of the map, which is the mappable part itself. And I can click on this thing to say change style. And so I can look at options that are available. I can set the transparency, the visibility range, or if I just click on symbols here, maybe I don't want it to be green, maybe I want it to be red. So I can change it to, oh, that's for the fill, I don't want to do that. Let's go to the outline. We'll change that to red. And actually, if I wanted, I could change the fill as well. Maybe I want that to be kind of a pink, but make it fairly transparent. Say OK. And so now I have park boundaries that have a bright red outline and then a semi-transparent kind of pink fill. So it's really easy to change the symbology for a map layer if you want, and then you can save that into your web map that you've created, and remember that the next time you load it and display it. If you want, you can add little map notes on top of the web map. Just go to Add, and then select Add Web Notes. And you can create a name for that, so I can say these are Alaska places I'd like to visit. And I can just use the existing map notes template for now and say create. And so now you'll see all these options on the left for different types of things that we can create. So we can create points, lines, or polygons. I can create different types of styles of points. So for example, a stick pin. So maybe I really want to go to Anchorage someday, so I can just click on Anchorage. It creates a map note for that and I can give that a title. I can say Anchorage. I could give it a description if I want. I can attach an image to that so that when you click on that map note, an image will appear. That image has to already exist somewhere on the web so that it has its own URL. That might be one that you can find, or if you want to upload your own, you can use services like Flickr, where essentially you're uploading your photo and then you get a URL from that photo service, and then you type that in here, and then you'll be able to show an image for that. I'm not going to do that for now. I just want to make this quick and easy. So I'll say close. And so now if I now have a little map note for the stick pin, and if I click on it, it says Anchorage and it keeps the information that I have. I can create an area, so I can do that by clicking the parts of the area that I want to create and then double clicking to finish it. So I could say, whatever I want. Beautiful spot. You get the idea. I can say close. Another nice one is you can do a freehand area. So I could say, oh, this is a really nice area over here. And then that becomes something that you can also annotate. So one thing that's important to make clear is that these are not being saved as a file anywhere. These are more just kind of annotations or notes that you're saving on top of your map. It's sort of a quick, easy way to be able to annotate a map, especially if you're saving it as a web map, you want to share it with somebody else, you want to be able to mark it up quickly to say, this is how you get to this location, or this is an area of interest that we should spend more time on. Whatever it happens to be, this is a way for you to be able to quickly and easily annotate your map, add descriptions to it or photos if you want to, and then that's saved in the web map document, but it's not saved as GIS data in its own file. So that's it. I just wanted to give you a quick overview. ArcGIS Online is really convenient. It's easy to use. There's lots you can do with it. It's actually a lot of fun to work with. And really what it's built around is this idea of making web maps. It's not like desktop software, which really is more designed around creating paper maps with layouts. This is designed for web mapping that's done digitally. It's being shared virtually, that you'll be able to send somebody a URL and be able to share what you're doing with them. So I encourage you to have a look at it and have some fun with it.